this time, Dr. McCullough, you are officially a Joe Rogan graduate. So the first question I have is, how was that experience? And also, if I'm correct, YouTube took down the clip of your interview with him as well as with Dr. Malone. So I'm just curious your thoughts on that too.
Well, Joe Rogan experience really was an experience, and in many ways, I told Joe Rogan the same basically narrative that I told Tucker Carlson 7 months earlier in the long program for Tucker Carlson. I think the difference was Rogan is so much more of a long format, and Rogan really is very perceptive. And unlike most Joe Rogan guests, I brought my computer. So I just showed him the data. I showed him paper after paper. It wasn't hearsay or it wasn't my opinion.
I've noticed that many institutions and officials have conflicts of interest when it comes to COVID-19, recommendations and treatments. For example, Dr. Fauci has an interest in profits from vaccines, and the hospitals have a financial interest in more COVID deaths and a financial interest in putting patients on ventilators. Dr. McCullough, do you have any conflicts of interest in your recommendation for treating COVID-19?
I have no conflicts of interest whatsoever. In fact, I've sustained massive financial losses just for trying to treat patients with COVID-19 and then give my fair review in Senate testimony and then as a frequent contributor on Fox News and Newsmax. I actually have a lawsuit against me that's threatening to just financially destroy me by a major health system in Texas. So no, I have no conflicts of interest at all. I'm basically giving my analysis and my thoughts on this to help the country and help the world guide its way through the pandemic. And I am concerned about conflicts of interest, and everybody should be aware of this. Scott Gottlieb, who's the former chairman of the FDA, he's on the board of Pfizer, and he's on TV, CNBC, advising America on vaccines, but yet he's personally profiting from this. The former FDA chairman, just after Gottlieb, Stephen Hahn, he joined the venture capital firm that's funding Moderna. The NIH co-owns the patent with Moderna. Rick Bright, who was in the White House, who blocked hydroxychloroquine, he joined the Rockefeller Foundation, which supports eugenics and vaccine research. We have the CEOs of Pfizer and Moderna commonly on TV advising the country on taking vaccines. They have gross conflicts of interest. Now we have Peter Hotez from Baylor in Houston, who's been advising America on vaccines. Now he announces his own vaccine, which he has a personal financial conflict of interest. I think we ought to check conflict of interest at the door. I think everybody who I mentioned should be off of TV and media because they do have a conflict of interest. They're personally profiting from the pandemic and particularly mass vaccination.
Before we get to the rest of this video, don't forget you can support my work by also checking out my sponsors and having a glass of wine or a cup of coffee in honor of free speech. The first is AllisonWinePromo.com, Allison with 1L winepromo.com. You get 50% off of my favorite Argentinian Malbecs and 50% off of shipping. They have switched out the 3 bottles from the last pairing, so check them out. Many of these are high altitude wines. They're very robust. They use no flavoring, no filtering, no dyes, and no excess chemicals. But if you need something to wake you up, like a strong cup of coffee, check out twinenginecoffee.com/Allison, twinenginecoffee.com/Allison. They've got a wide variety of roasts. These are high altitude, shade grown Nicaraguan coffees that are also USDA certified organic. Check out my sponsors and support free speech wherever you are. Is there anything else you'd like to add that I didn't ask you about, Dr. McCullough, that you think is important for people to hear?
I think the most important thing people need to know is right now we're seeing censorship of the truth. We're seeing censorship of published scientific papers. It's obvious. I think that's what got the attention of Joe Rogan and so many others. So where you're seeing censorship, you're seeing truth, and you're going to have to follow it. Stations like this are bringing the truth to Americans and people around the world. And in the end, the truth will prevail.
This is just a short clip of a full video that has basically been sanitized so it can fly under the radar on YouTube. If you want to see the entire conversation that we had or the entirety of the commentary that you're watching, please go to one of my other platforms. One of the best places to go is AllisonMorrow.locals.com, where you can become part of my editorial board and pose questions ahead of time for interviews. I also do live editorial board meetings on Saturdays. You can bring your feedback and pose ideas for guests and topics for the week to come, and you get exclusive content. So go to to AlisonMorrow.locals.com. But whatever you do, don't stay here on YouTube. If you want the full truth about what's happening around us, you gotta go somewhere else.